Kristina mentioned George Hall down in Mobile, a school, it's inner city Mobile, a school I'm extremely familiar with. I've written about it, I've been there many times. 99% free and reduced lunch. 99% African American. The census tract, and I looked this up yesterday, shows that the median household income for George Hall, for that neighborhood, is 41% of the state average. And yet, every time I look at their test scores, they are equal to any elementary school in the Mountain Brook school system. It is incredible what goes on at that little school. And there's lots of different reasons why it goes on there. But if anybody, that school and a lot of others prove that a zip code does not have to be your destiny, but it takes an awful lot of other stuff. And basically, I would explain it this way. If I gave one of you $1,000 and then gave your buddy $100 and said to you, now the first one that comes back to me and has $10,000, has multiplied this into $10,000, I'm going to give you a $100,000 check. Well, that doesn't mean both of you couldn't do that, but I can promise you the one with the $1,000 would have a whole lot easier time than the one with the $100. And these kids in these high poverty schools are the $100 kids. It's just what it boils down to. And they can do outstanding work, but that's where the real challenge is in the state of Alabama. So don't ever confuse the fact that if they're in a high poverty school or come out of a high poverty situation, they don't have any sense. They do. They just don't have anybody at the house trying to help them.
Okay, we're going to move on. So next question, Kristina.
Hi, I'm Kristina Cook. I'm from Wallace State Community College, and I'm majoring in special education. My question to you is, statistics show that one way out of poverty is through education at the university level. Why do so many people give up their education in spite of this fact?
Lindsay, I'm going to ask you to get this started. As someone who's got some real interaction with people who might find themselves in poverty and also may face some educational challenges and understand different paths they might have taken.
You ask someone in an affluent neighborhood if they're going to college, they're going to roll their eyes and say, well, yeah. But you ask somebody in a small community if they're going to college, they'll roll their eyes and say no. It's an accepted fact. It is that accepted poverty level. And they're may not necessarily be aware that there is that opportunity, that there is a way for them to get a higher education. That being said, there's also the poverty issues that we were talking about of just trying to make ends meet. I know that we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, but they may already be starting a family. There's not the time, there's not the money at that time. And when you're trying to just get a meal on the table, going to school is a luxury. And that's something way out of your reach. You've been convinced that the only way out of this situation is luck, chance, or becoming a superstar. And that's a 1 in a million shot. No matter how often you might hear, going to college will give you a better paycheck, the answer is, well, how do I get there? That's for someone who's got money. And I really don't know how to answer that when you don't have anything to begin with.
Jim, one of my favorite things about talking with classes at the University of Montevallo is the diversity that's in the classroom, and there's so many first-generation college students, and you've had a long history there in working with first-generation college students. What do you see in their struggle to not just get to college, but to stay in college?
Well, I think we've spoken to this a little bit already in various ways, but it comes down to the support group that those first-generation students have or don't have. And one of the things is, if nobody else is in the, and many of you can relate to this, if nobody else in your family has been to college or been anywhere other than high school, then it's hard to know what a schedule is. I've had students who've come in for registration and they say, okay, well, what do I take at 8 o'clock? I said, either whatever you want to or nothing, you know. Well, what do I do if my first class isn't until 1 o'clock? Whatever you want to, you know. And this particular class, by the way, does not meet every day. This one's only Tuesday and Thursday. These others are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that type of thing. So just knowing the schedule, understanding what a bursar is or what a registrar is, that type of thing, what a schedule is, what a bulletin is, how to read that, and how to do that. So, but, you know, there are support systems in place, I think, to help with that. I think one of the key things, and we service a lot of first-generation students, and in some ways, those folks are more motivated than some of those who come from a tradition of being college-educated or what have you. And so I think it depends on the individual. One of the things I was thinking about here is that when I graduated from high school, there really were only two ways that you could afford to go to college. One was to be from a family of means, which means probably mid to upper middle class or higher, or get a scholarship, whether that be academic or athletic scholarship. Otherwise, if you didn't have either scholarship or the means within your family, you didn't go to college. You couldn't afford it. There was no way to do that. Now, through financial aid, through Pell Grants, through student loans, you know you can get more money than you know what to do with. The problem is you have to pay it back. And you realize right quick the difference between a grant and a loan. Had a student the other day who was bemoaning that she had just found out from the McNair program that her mother, who actually struggled economically as a single parent, made too much money for this student to qualify for the McNair program, and therefore she would not be eligible for the scholarships. And you say, well, hey, kudos to your mom for working hard and having that work ethic and doing what she can to help afford this. I'm really sorry she makes too much money. You know, and it just has to be a little bit to put you over that threshold so that you're not eligible. But one of the things that's good, I think, is that a lot of students come into this and families that says, we don't want to incur a lot of debt. And you can rack up a lot of debt in 2 years, 4 years, some who are on the 5, 6, 7-year plan. You can come out with tens of thousands of dollars of debt, which means you better get a job, which is tough in this economy, so that you can start paying that back. Or it means that you work while going to school. And of course, back in my day, if you had a scholarship or if you could pay for it, you know, you might have a work-study job or something like that, but you weren't relying on that to pay your tuition or for your livelihood. Pretty much the tuition was paid for. Now, with reduced state support for higher education, it means that tuition costs, the rates of tuition are higher, which means more of the burden rests with the student and with the families, not with the state coming from the taxes and things like that. So it means that unless you get a grant or a scholarship of some sort, you have to pay the loan back. Now, it's easy to get the loan. All you really have to do is apply, and then the financial aid office says, here you go. We'll take care of your tuition, and here's your refund check that comes after classes start. But it gets scary there, and a lot of students either don't want to incur debt or they see those zeros multiplying, as it were, and they say, I can't afford to finish and incur this much debt. So they may take a semester off, a year off, to go work full-time. We have some students, I'm sure many of you, work full-time, work 40 hours a week and are full-time student, and may have a work-study job too. I don't know how they do it.
How many of y'all work full-time? Good number of you. How many are first-generation college students? Fantastic.
Yeah. So the idea, you know, we track completion rates, 4-year, 5-year, 6-year, and interestingly enough, The 6-year completion rate is kind of the litmus test where we look. We also track 7-year completion rate, trying to look at that. So the idea of saying, oh, 4 years, go to college, then go out and get a job, really is not what it used to be. That used to be kind of absolute for us. Now it's kind of an aberration to be able to finish in 4 years. But a lot of folks can pass the entrance exam. A lot of folks then can get loans to pay the tuition, but there are a lot of other adjustments, as you know, to being involved in higher education, whether it be 2-year school, 4-year school, or what have you, and depending on what your situation is. And some folks just need to make money. Some people simply can't afford to stay in school for that 4, 5, 6-year period, or sometimes even a 2-year period. And so there are a lot of factors there that I think contribute to the dropout rate or the non-completion rate here. People go to school for different reasons, and again, I think it's important to have that goal, and then perhaps some assistance to say, this is a route here, so that, frankly, you don't put yourself in poverty by improving your education, supposedly to improve your lot. Of course, the rule of thumb is, if you can invest, even if you have to incur a certain amount of debt that increases your education and therefore your earning potential, then that is a smart investment, because over the term of your working life, you will reap the benefits of that and plus some. But it still has to be a smart decision, and sometimes that's higher economics.